Welcome to the session, everybody. And this session, we are looking at types of facilitators. And after this session, you should be able to know which type of facilitator are you? What is the best way that you can facilitate? Or which types of facilitating can you embody together to create the right transformation for your clients or for the participants who are attending your event? Because we all need to understand this so we can do that. The first type of facilitator is neutral facilitator. Neutral facilitator. And one thing about facilitation and to an extent training is, as a facilitator, you're a guide. You are enabling people to function and to operate from a certain dimension. And that is why with facilitators, you mostly organize sessions around your area of expertise and with professionals or would be professionals in their field. For example, if you're a career coach, you can organize a CV writing workshop for job seekers. So these are people who want to learn how to write CVs for themselves. So you can organize a workshop, and the purpose of a workshop is to guide people to learn how to do something. That's the purpose of a workshop. So you now become a facilitator who is an expert in that thing, and you now guide people to do it. There are also some form of facilitators who are not experts in that stuff, but they can use a blueprint or a framework to guide people through a process. So the first type of a facilitator is neutral facilitator. When a neutral facilitator is leading a session, he or she does a lot of asking. You ask people a lot of questions with the focus on guiding the workshop process. And you steer people through a tricky agenda, make sure that everyone is heard and all issues are addressed, and you help reach a consensus, right? So you can facilitate like a meeting. Let's say, for example, I have been invited and paid several times to facilitate board meetings, because it's possible that CEOs may not know how to organize and lead board meetings. So there's a board president, there are board members, but my job is to ensure that the board meeting goes according to a standard board meeting and guide them to discuss and focus the discussions on the right things, and you can get paid. It's the same like one of you can be invited to facilitate a session with, let's say, the United Nations is meeting women in your community to do a research or have a session on gender-based violence. And they can hire you as a facilitator to facilitate that meeting between the United Nations staff and the local women. Since you have knowledge about the community or you have some knowledge about gender-based violence and the United Nations work in that area, you can be the person who will facilitate that meeting, that session, that workshop, to ensure that the agenda is met and the real issues are addressed. You get a point? And also, a neutral facilitator, you can organize a session like, let's say, not only you, but a company. Like, for example, companies organize a session on innovative product design or a session on building a strategy for the next year, and I can go facilitate the session. And in that session, my focus is to guide the team to go through the process of building the strategy for the next year for their business. I am not there to teach them. I am not there to train. I am just there to facilitate the strategy development session. So just neutral, focus on asking a lot of questions, enabling people to think deep and all of that. Okay, so you can also do a session. So many a times when I'm doing a workshop or anything, I always ask myself, so in this particular workshop, should I be more of a neutral facilitator or another form of facilitator? Okay, good. So this the first type. The second type is facilitative consultant. Yes, facilitative consultants. Facilitative consultants. Now, this consultant balances two things. You ask and you tell. You ask and you tell. Guiding the meeting process while making strong content contributions. Now here you go further and you tell. You can help the group reach a well-supported decision, right? Let's say, for example, you are a trained certified accountant, like one of us here, and you can now organize a session for end of year session for company accountants from your community. And the aim is to the aim of that workshop is to enable the accountants to learn how to prepare annual financial reports. Your job is not to prepare the report for them. Your job is to be there as the pro, to enable them, to facilitate them as the expert consultant to successfully come out with their individual company annual reports. You get the process. So you begin to ask them, okay, in this step, what do you need to do? Oh, do you have all your Monday profit and loss statement? They say yes. Now, in this case, how do you fit it in the Excel sheet? They tell you, with this kind of challenge, what happens? When they are not facing a challenge, now you cannot contribute. You cannot chip in something. They are doing the work. That's why in a workshop, in a typical workshop, participants do more than 80% of the work. If you do a workshop and the trainer, you are the one speaking, I did everything. It's not a workshop, it's not a training session. It's not a seminar. And that's why you know that there are many people in this industry who don't know the difference between a conference, a seminar, a workshop, a masterclass, and all of these things. You see? So that is who a facilitative consultant is. You ask intelligent questions. Then you also tell, you guide, you make strong content contribution at the same time. So this also now depends on looking at what you do in your area of expertise. Do you think that in your workshops, you'll be more of a neutral facilitator or a facilitative consultant? Okay, good. Number 3, the observer. Yes, there is an observer. This is another type of being a facilitator. The observer watches carefully for group dynamic issues. Signs of enthusiasm, concerns, and fatigue, can spot clues in body language that others may miss. Now, this is a type of facilitator that you will see in all workshop sessions. Every facilitator must be a good observer. When you are training people, when you are leading a workshop, you need to pay attention to the group dynamics. How are the energy levels? Are the energy levels rising or dropping? Are people tired? Are people paying attention? What do you think is going on? And that's why workshops are mostly physical. It's difficult to have a successful virtual workshop. It's not, to an extent, it's never really a workshop. Although to some extent, when you have the right technology and platforms, you can do a good virtual workshop. But powerful workshops are on-site. Okay, good. So every workshop facilitator is an observer. So you need to develop observation skills. As you are leading the workshop, you are paying attention to the charisma, to the enthusiasm, to the fatigue, to the body language, to the smiles, to the energy levels, to the concentration. And in the process, what do? You can start creating activities. You can start doing things to make sure that people are involved. You can now determine that, oh, this is the time for break. This is the time to do this or to do that. So you must be an observer, okay? And that is a type of facilitator that you can be. And one thing you need to know is that you can organize a workshop and you can play these 3 roles as a facilitator. There can be a moment where you are a neutral person. There can be a moment where you're a facilitative consultant. And in the same process, you are an observer, because when you observe and look at the changes in your participants or customers, you can know how to adapt, you can become agile and ensure that you do the right things to ensure you're carrying everybody along in the workshop process, okay? Number 4, the expert facilitator. The expert facilitator. With being the expert facilitator, as simple as you share knowledge-making content. Yeah, you share knowledge-making content, not process-related contributions. You share the knowledge, right? Share the knowledge. If facilitative consultant shares process-related contribution. So it's also possible that if you organize a workshop, let's say you're doing a workshop as an accountant, a workshop as a real estate expert, a workshop as a career coach, whatever, you can decide and combine that in this particular workshop, you will wear the cap of a facilitative consultant and expert facilitator. So that when you do that, you now know that, okay, in this workshop, you will share deep knowledge. Like I like to do this a lot. Majority of my workshops, I combine these two a lot. And in the first part of my workshop, I focus on being the expert. I share a lot of deep knowledge about the things I want to teach about. Then the second part of the workshop, I now become a facilitative consultant, because I noticed that that's my best way of creating transformation. So, and that's one thing that you need to learn in your journey as a professional. Discover your style. Discover your best way of making things work. Okay? In all the things I do, I know my best frameworks. So I always use them most often. Okay? So you share knowledge-making content, but you are not focused on the process. Your job here is to open the group's eyes to new concepts and approaches. Like exactly this facilitators workshop certification program, I am doing purely expert facilitation. I'm focusing on the focus here is to share with you knowledge, open your eyes to concepts and approaches as far as becoming a professional facilitator is concerned. You get the concept? And these foundations are important to know, and this is what makes you professional. The way when you go out there, you begin to do things, you bring in some style and some, they just said, no, this man is not guessworking. This lady is not guessworking. You know exactly what they're doing. You have a structure in mind. Okay, good. So you do that, and you are able to do. So again, as I said, you can combine the 4 types of facilitators and do your work. Okay, or you can combine 2, or you can do 1. It depends on the objectives and what you want to achieve. Okay, I can take questions now. Any questions about this? And before we take questions, I would like people to type in the chat box in order, based on what you do, as a professional, in order of the types of facilitators I have indicated. Write in order how you would like to lead your workshops. Would you like to be more of a neutral facilitator, an expert facilitator, facilitative consultant, or observer? Just write in order. Let me see. Just write in the chat box. Write in the chat box. Let me see. How would you like to make this work? Okay. Somebody says expert facilitator. I don't know if to put it in order. Don't just put 1. Yeah, we did 4. Okay. Expert, facilitative, observer. Good. All right. Yeah, that works definitely. Facilitative consultant, expert, observer. Good. Awesome. All right. one thing about knowing exactly the best type of facilitator that fits you is it also helps you to know how to design your training content. Yeah, many people don't know that. Like, for example, anytime I'm going to lead a workshop that I'll be focusing more on being a facilitative consultant, I hardly do a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, I hardly do it because it's all inside of me. My job is to facilitate the session as an expert and help people go through the process. But anytime I'm going to do a workshop and they need me as the expert, I need to be the expert facilitator. I need to prepare a deep PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Now, one thing that also happened to me many times is an organization or they organize a community workshop or something large. They will bring other people. They will bring other experts to come and do stuff. Then they will hire me as the facilitator. It happened to me a couple of times. I think the U.S. Embassy did it with me one time. Was the U.S. Embassy I think the last one that they did. Where there were other trainers that they brought, but my job now was, on the last day, my job was to help all the participants to take all the knowledge from day 1 and day 2 and practically contextualize in their situation. So what they needed was facilitative consultants. So it's possible to see an event where there are keynote speakers, there are trainers, and then they will need an expert facilitator or a facilitative consultant to now lead a session. That anybody, the person who designed that program was definitely somebody who understands the industry very well. I was like, wow, I've not seen this happen a lot around here. You see, and the feedback from that particular program was amazing. Was amazing. Yeah. All right. Awesome, everybody. That's it. I'm happy to see that we understand exactly where we are. Okay, I see a hand up. Let me see. Yes, ask a question. You can unmute yourself. Ask a question.
Thank you for the session, sir. My question goes, if is it the facilitator like me who determines the pace, like the type of session to have, or does it depend on the target group, or is it both?
Both. Because it also depends. Many times you can design a workshop based on what you see that is lacking in the community, right? And then from there now, you now notice that, okay, the people that you want to train, let's say like you, for example, you want to do a session for accountants. And the kind of, if you are bringing accountants who are already working in companies, you know that target defines that. Or you can also do another session and you're targeting accountants, but they are still job seekers. Your job is you just want to prepare them better on how to be real time, because there are guys who graduate from accounting schools and they don't have the real hands-on skill. And you want to do a workshop, 3 days, 4 days workshop session to provide hands-on skill on the things that they will do real time if they get a job. Now, that class now determines how you facilitate the session, right?
Okay, all right, sir. Thank you.
Good. Awesome. Okay, that's the last question. Let us end the session and pick up the next one.